Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari Bol.
Okay, so thank you again, Sameshwar Prabhu and all the devotees, the opportunity to share. I'd like to humbly request all of your blessings before beginning. You're all deep mentors in spiritual life, and just so grateful to all of you for your blessings. Okay, so here we have, I'll share the screen. We'll be reading tonight in chapter 10 of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. Text number 24. Go ahead. Rodasam cha mukyam vidi partha brihaspatim senaninam aham skandaha sarasam asmi sagaraha. So, word for word translation. Purodasam, of all priests. Cha, also. Mukyam, the chief. Mam, me. Vidhi, understand. Partha, O son of Pritha. Brihaspatim, Brihaspati. Senaninam, of all commanders. Aham, I am. Skandaha, Kartikeya. Sarasam, of all reservoirs of water. Asmi, I am. Sagaraha, the ocean. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya. And of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest. And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly, Skanda or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachaline Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatirishatarine. Okay, so in this section of the Gita, Krishna is explaining his opulences in a very interesting way. the different representations that we find for Krishna. So I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun. I am the original fragrance of the earth, so on and so forth. Of aquatics, I am the shark, many that can stand out in our mind. And in this particular verse, he is comparing himself, not comparing even, he is stating that he is the chief of priests, Brihaspati. Of generals, he is Kartikeya. And of bodies of water, he is the ocean. So in the purport here, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Indra is the chief of demigods. He's the chief of the heavenly planets. And his priest is named Brihaspati. So of course, because Indra is the chief of kings, Brihaspati is the chief of priests. And we have Skanda, Kartikeya, sometimes also called Murugan, who is the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva. And he is considered to be the chief of military commanders. And of all the bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. So all of these superlatives Krishna is sharing in this section. And this is Krishna's way of giving an indication, as Prabhupada says here, giving hints of his greatness. So as Krishna states in Bhagavad-Gita, we can read this verse. This is text 41 of chapter 10. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam srimad urjitameva va tattar eva vakacha tvam mamatejom misha sambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my spirit. So Krishna is summarizing this point in this verse, that every beautiful creation, everything opulent, everything glorious, springs from just a spark of his splendor. So as Prabhupada is saying in the purport here, that all of these representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. But similarly, we strive to recognize that anything that we behold in this world that is great, all beautiful places, all beautiful creations in this world, nature, so on and so forth, and great personalities are all connected to Krishna, because of course Krishna explains that he is the ability in man. So these personalities who are among the demigods, they are also Krishna's creation. So of course Krishna is the source of all. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the source of all. And the demigods are all creations of Krishna. So Krishna gives Lord Brahma the credit, we can say. Gives Lord Brahma the credit of being the creator of this particular universe. But at the same time, where does Brahma come from? Brahma comes from the navel of Lord Vishnu. Lotus springs from the navel of Lord Vishnu, and Brahma appears on that lotus. So that's why we have a name for Krishna. Vishnu is Padmanabha, the lotus-naveled one. So in that way, Brahma may be seen as the creator of this cosmic manifestation, but at the same time, Krishna is behind it all, and his expansion as Mahavishnu. So these personalities, while undoubtedly great personalities, their source is Krishna. So in this text, Krishna is showing the expanse of his opulence, which is why the chapter is called the Opulence of the Absolute. So the greatness of these personalities is an embodiment of the greatness of Krishna. Just as Srila Prabhupada once said to one of his disciples who was commenting on the beauty of nature, Prabhupada said, if you like the art, you should meet the artist. So in this way, this whole chapter is so beautiful because it gives us so many opportunities to practically remember Krishna. So we may appreciate the rain that's brought by Lord Indra, and we have some association that this is coming from Indra, king of heaven. But of course we have our Govardhan Leela we hear in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about how the rain is coming from Lord Indra, but still, even when Indra tried to wash away the entire village of Vrindavan, and actually the entire cosmos, he brought a rain that was meant for the devastation and annihilation of this world. But still, Krishna was able to very easily give shelter. Nevertheless, we can remember when we experience the rain that this is ultimately coming from Krishna. And when we see the ocean, we can remember that the ocean, Krishna says here in Bhagavad-Gita, that of all bodies of water, he is the ocean. And we experience sometimes that we can remember Krishna in certain moments. In certain moments, we cannot. I remember distinctly, I was talking with one friend of mine some years ago, devotee friend, and we were talking about that. How often throughout the day, do we find opportunities to remember Krishna? And just that day, we had taken a walk on the beach. It was in the evening time. We took a walk on the beach, and there was a beautiful full moon above the ocean. Quite a wonderful sight. And he said, well, I have some trouble remembering Krishna, but at least I just remembered him now when we were in front of the ocean. And I have to admit that at that time, it hit me. I said, I didn't think of him. I didn't think of Krishna at that time when I saw the mighty ocean. So see, Krishna is providing so many opportunities for us to progressively strive to remember him in all that we do, all that we behold. And in so many ways, this is Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is giving us so many ways to remember him, either directly, and in this process, of course, we have Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord. So of course, these practices, these angas of bhakti, they lead to the other. So by hearing, Shravanam, we receive inspiration for chanting, Kirtanam. Kind of, we can say in a practical way, hearing gives us something to chant about, that when we are chanting, we are being inspired by what we hear of Krishna. Of course, the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna are all absolute. In some sense, they're the same on the deepest level. So if we're hearing the pastimes of Krishna, we're just building our relationship with him through hearing this Krishna Katha. Similarly, by chanting his names, his holy names, we're building that relationship, building that connection with Krishna in his form as Harinam, as a holy name, which is a very approachable form of Krishna. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting, and anyone can chant. So this is the mercy of Krishna, particularly in Kali Yuga. This is being emphasized. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this to everyone. Please chant. He induced them, please chant. Lord Nityananda. So sometimes we hear about this, that this form of Krishna as the holy name is so very merciful because anyone can approach the holy name. No hard and fast rules. Of course, there are offenses to be considered in chanting the holy name. But even so, our acharyas tell us that the only solution, the only cure for nam aparad or offensive chanting is more chanting. So in this way, we should never think, oh, I'm so offensive in my chanting. I'm not qualified. I don't deserve to chant the holy name, so on and so forth. Of course, in some sense, it's a mercy. It's a great mercy that we can never really be qualified for to chant the holy name. But at the same time, this is not the spirit of the holy name. Holy name is very liberal, allowing for anyone and everyone to approach in this form. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Bhagavad-Gita 18th chapter, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. Surrender unto me. Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is Krishna's great mercy. But at the same time, what we hear from our acharyas is that Krishna demands surrender in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. Whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming in Kali Yuga, he does not even demand surrender. He's actually begging, please just chant the holy name, with no consideration of qualification, background, so on and so forth. So much mercy coming to us. So these processes of Bhakti, they feed each other. Shravanam feeds the Kirtanam. Kirtanam feeds Smaranam, our ability to remember. So similarly, in this chapter, as Krishna shares his opulences, he's giving us so many ways to remember him. He says, I am the taste of water. If we take a drink of water, all of us are required to sustain our lives in these material bodies. It's a small, sweet opportunity to remember Krishna. Similarly, Krishna is the ability in man. So, of course, these personalities who Krishna is likening himself to in this verse, Brihaspati, Skanda, that these are not ordinary. These are not ordinary personalities, but still it applies when Krishna says he is the ability in man. Of course, we don't want to compare them to ordinary men. They're very, very special personalities, great devotees, empowered personalities. But at the same time, their abilities are also coming from Krishna. There's no exception. There's no exception. So Krishna is the source of all. And it even says that if we offer respect to the demigods, we do so in remembrance of Krishna. This is our explanation that we hear time and again from Srila Prabhupada, that we respect the demigods and we offer all respects to them, but at the same time, to think of them as equal to or independent of Vishnu or Krishna is considered to be a misconception and an offense. So Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita, he explains, I'll share the screen here so we can take a look at this. So we went over that verse, but he explains here. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So here we understand that even those who are attracted to the worship of the demigods, that devotion, that bhakti that they're having toward the demigods is coming directly from Krishna. Krishna is enabling those souls to connect with the demigods. And sometimes we find that we approach the demigods with a mood of mixed devotion. So, which is not to say there are souls out there who are approaching the demigods with sincere bhakti. I don't mean to disparage anyone in that way. But quite often the worship of the demigods is mixed with karma or gyan. So it may not be pure bhakti. It may be karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti. And the demigods are very approachable in this way. We hear like Lord Shiva, for example. He's known as Ashutosh. He has the ability to be very easily pleased, but also very easily angered. So if one approaches a personality such as Lord Shiva, and Shiva is considered to be the greatest among demigods also, Prabhupada explains that in a way, Lord Shiva is just a slight transformation of Krishna, just as milk can be transformed into yogurt. But at the same time, yogurt can never be changed back into milk. It's possible to transform milk into yogurt, but not possible to transform yogurt into milk. So in this way, we understand personality like Lord Shiva. So we can approach the demigods, and Krishna is providing the facility and the devotion. So sometimes we find that the interactions with these personalities can be a bit transactional. And of course, we try sometimes to be transactional with Krishna. Oh, my Lord, please allow me to have X, Y, and Z, and then I will have deep devotion toward you, or then I will give X, Y, and Z to the temple or to the devotees, to the community. Sometimes it's just a propensity that we have. We want to be a little transactional, and we think that we have the right idea about what's meant to happen to us. So, okay, Krishna, if you enact this golden plan that I have, then I will give you all thanks. So Krishna, as we all find, does not operate in this way. So for the demigods, it may be that if you perform a certain puja, you do it very expertly, no mistakes, so on and so forth, that a result will come. It can be a bit transactional in that way. Krishna, we can also I suppose we can do that, but that's considered to be an offense. It's almost like if you went up to Bill Gates and said, Mr. Gates, can you please give me $100? Something like that. Of course, we know there's so much more that he has to offer. So in this way, if we approach Krishna with our limited conception of what is best for us, then we may very well be missing what Krishna has in store for us beyond what we can even imagine and conceive of. So this is the difference between mercy and grace. We also hear this explanation. This, I believe, is coming from Christian theologians. They define that mercy can be understood as when we are requesting something and seeking something, and then it comes to us. So that is a mercy, that, oh, I needed this, and I was seeking this, and it came. However, grace is when something comes to us that we don't even know that we need. We couldn't have even imagined that we needed something in our life like this, a certain person to come into our life. Spiritual master is an amazing example. But there are those who are in our lives who inspire us and teach us what we need to learn and share things with us that touch our hearts. So certainly this is a grace when we're not expecting something, but someone comes into our life to inspire us. Or something can befall us that is seemingly negative, but at the same time, it will open new doors for us in our life. This is also a grace of the Supreme Lord. Or some opportunity to serve that we didn't expect. So Krishna is always reciprocating with the devotees in a very, very personal way. And whatever is happening, we find among great devotees that they are constantly remembering Krishna. They're constantly absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. And there's never this feeling of, oh, Krishna, you're not doing my will. The great devotees are completely welcome anything and everything that Krishna may do. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers a beautiful summary of this attitude in Shikshastakam when he says, even if you handle me roughly by your embrace or make me brokenhearted by not being present before me, you're completely free to do anything and everything, for you are always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So this is the attitude of the great souls, great devotees. And what we see is that Krishna wants us to remember him at every step. So it may not be that Krishna is so concerned with the immediate details of, oh, should I take this job or should I take that job? Or should I live in this place or live in that place? Of course, we receive guidance in that way, particularly through consulting Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. This way we can receive some clarity about these ongoing changes and decisions that may come up in our life. But we're seeking that guidance, we're seeking the realization beyond our own limited conception, beyond our own imperfect senses. We can't see much, even without eyeglasses, we can't see much. So who are we to think that we know what's right for us around the bend of life? However, we do use our intelligence. Krishna wants us to use our intelligence. And as we hear in Krishna's Damodar Leela, there is a combination, a sort of meeting that takes place between endeavor and mercy. So Krishna does like when we endeavor. See, Mother Yashoda was endeavoring so hard. She was sweating, perspiring, struggling to tie him. And every time it was 2 fingers too short. And what the Acharyas explain is that those 2 fingers represent endeavor and mercy. So when these 2 things come together, things happen. And Krishna likes when we endeavor because we're using our free will. We have free will. And when we use it to try to come closer to Krishna, Krishna is so pleased and actually touched by this. This is personalism, that Krishna, he cares about what we are doing to try to come closer to him and wants nothing more. So if we think that our progress in spiritual life is making us happy, which of course brings ananda, brings happiness, bliss. But if we think that we're happy by coming closer to Krishna, we can only imagine how happy Krishna is that we're coming closer to his lotus feet. So, of course, How do we do this? By aspiring to remember him at every step. So I just want to open one text here. Sorry, I know I didn't share the screen. Here we go. So this is from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 2, called The First Stages of Devotional Service. This is very nice because in this chapter, the opulences of the Absolute, it's so wonderful how remembrance of Krishna is not only described, but it's also facilitated by Krishna giving all of these unique ways to remember him. So here in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, they are sharing this. So we should always try to mold the activities of our lives in such a way that we will constantly remember Vishnu or Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Whether one concentrates his mind on the four-handed form of Vishnu or on the form of two-handed Krishna, it is the same. The Padma Purana recommends, somehow or other, always think of Vishnu without forgetting him under any circumstances. Actually, this is the most basic of all regulative principles. For when there is an order from a superior about doing something, there is simultaneously a prohibition. When the order is that one should always remember Krishna, the prohibition is that one should never forget him. Within this simple order and prohibition, all regulative principles are found complete. This regulative principle is applicable to all varnas and ashramas, the castes and occupations of life. There are 4 varnas, namely the brahmanas, priests and intellectuals, the kshatriyas, warriors and statesmen, the vaishyas, businessmen and farmers, and the shudras, laborers and servants. There are also 4 standard ashrams, namely brahmacharya, student life, grihasta, householder, vanaprastha, retired, and sannyas, renounced. The regulative principles are not only for the brahmacharis, celibate students to follow, but are applicable for all. It doesn't matter whether one is a beginner, a brahmachari, or is very advanced, a sannyasi. The principle of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly and not forgetting him at any moment is meant to be followed by everyone without fail. So we can see that remembrance of Krishna is ultimately what facilitates, what allows the Bhakti Lata Bija, the plant, the creeper of devotion, to bloom and grow. That regardless of the circumstances, like Queen Kunti prayed, of course, is a very, very high understanding. We can't imitate it artificially. But Queen Kunti prayed, Krishna, when I have calamities in my life, I remember you. So I wish that you will bring so many calamities so that I can always remember you. In other words, this smaranam, this remembrance of the Lord, is the wealth of the devotees. And if one is in remembrance of Krishna, regardless of the external circumstances, they're actually in quite a safe position. And even, here, this one section here that was just mentioned. Oh yes, so regardless of our station of life, our varna or our ashram, of course, this may vary from person to person, but without exception, we are encouraged and implored to remember Krishna. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of his songs, he has Grihe tako vane tako sada hari bole dako suke duke bulo nako padane hari nam korore, which is that whether one is, I'm paraphrasing, forgive me, whether one is a brahmachari, grihasta, vanaprastha, or sannyasi, or whether one is regardless of the varna, to just fill your mouth with the name of Hari. And this is the ultimate instruction. Our circumstances in life always change, but our aspiration is that we can remember Krishna. And in this particular section, Krishna is just giving yet another way to remember him as the ocean, the might of the ocean. We've all seen, going to the seashore, the power of the waves of the ocean, and the way that the ocean always remains full, Purnam, right? That Krishna, in Ishopanishad, Krishna explains that, in Ishopanishad it is explained, that Krishna remains the absolute balance. He's capable of giving rise to so many complete wholes, complete universes, complete living entities, so on and so forth. But he never loses anything. He remains full, Purnam. So similarly, the ocean gives way to so many rivers and lakes and is evaporating and providing, moisture. The ocean is evaporating constantly, but yet it doesn't ever go away. It remains full. So this is one way of understanding also Krishna's relationship to the ocean. And he's talking about how he is these great personalities also. He's the superlative of all. He's Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who is full in 6 opulences. So anywhere we see these opulences, we're to understand, just as Krishna says, that all of this is but a spark of his splendor. So this is how Krishna is just so wonderful. And bhakti is ultimately the superlative goal of one's life. Karma and gyan are actually very much, action or power. It may be explained by some acharyas, or jnana, knowledge. These are only really valuable when they're utilized in service of bhakti. So love is the most important thing. Our power, our knowledge in this life may come and go, and it may differ from person to person. So whatever we have, we strive to use it in service of the ultimate love, our bhakti, our connection to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everything else is not as important. It's not so real. So in this way, we are encouraged to just always remember Krishna and to never forget him. All of the regulative principles that we may find, of course, in Krishna consciousness, we have our 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. These are not some moralistic principles. Sometimes we misunderstand that if we're following these principles, it's kind of like, oh, I'm on a very high moral level. I'm being a very good, good person in this way. Of course, it does help us morally. It helps us to stay clear and to not become too distracted, or to give rise to some, more and more kind of negative activities in our life. So it has a moral component, but very important. Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, he shares this, that the regulations that we find in Krishna consciousness, they're not moralistic. And if we think of them as moralistic, we'll probably lose inspiration about it. But actually, these are all regulations that help us to see God, help us to see Krishna, to remember him. So if our minds are more and more clear through the following of these rules and regulations, then we are actually priming ourselves to understand more about spiritual knowledge, to understand Krishna more, to see him more in our day-to-day life, to see his hand in what's going on all around us. And in this way, that's why. And of course, the positive regulation we find is chanting our minimum 16 rounds, chanting Hare Krishna. This is also facilitating in the deepest way our remembrance of Krishna. Not only remembrance of Krishna, but it's actually presence with Krishna. Sachinandan Swami Maharaj, he shares that we should chant Hare Krishna as if Krishna is in the room with us, because he is. So the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes are all absolute. And we're encouraged to take shelter of all of them. So in this way, the ultimate regulative principle is to always remember Krishna. And the ultimate prohibition is to never forget him. So whatever's helping us, we should adopt. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also shares this principle that we should accept anything that is facilitating us in growing in Krishna consciousness. We should reject anything that is impeding us, impeding our Krishna consciousness. So these are simple rules, but we can apply them really across the board, and it's a life's work to do so. So, as Prabhupada says, this particular verse is just giving a hint of Krishna's splendor. But what we try to do is all that we see that's splendorous and inspiring, we have a way to connect it to Krishna. And this is the grace of Srila Prabhupada, teaching us how to do this. And we try to inspire each other. Devotees enliven each other by sharing about Krishna. And this is our progressive path that we're trying to walk. It's gradual, but we're trying to remember Krishna and see him more and more in all that we encounter in this life. So I will stop here. All of my gratitude to everyone for joining tonight, and thank you for all of your inspiration in spiritual life. We would just love to hear any thoughts, reflections, corrections, additions, so on. So Hare Krishna, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna Dinabandhu Prabhuji, thank you so much for such a wonderful and powerful class. It reveals the importance of the devotion and how we can aspire for it. We can attain the devotion. It is wonderful how everything is connected, that how we can see Krishna in everywhere, in everything. And the point of always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This way we can always remember Krishna. We can see Krishna in everywhere. So nice. I like that the example that you gave, that you and your friend went to the beach on the shore of the ocean and saw the full moon above the ocean. And yes, exactly, yes. So beautiful. When you look at the sun and the moon and the plant and the trees and the skies and the water and the rain, everything, even I was feeling, even the simple breeze comes to our body, It's what is this all about, I heard that, what is this all about? It's coming nicely and giving us such a wonderful feeling of cooling and soothing effect. Yes, it may be, changing of energy from the body to body, but what is this all about? Think about it. What is this all about? What is light? What is water? What is atom? What is energy? What is all about? What is this whole world? It's amazing. So thank you so much for such a wonderful class. So, dear devotees, anybody has anything, any questions, any comments, concerns? Please open up. You have wonderful discussions and wonderful forum. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Tanu Pranam Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice, nicely explained, Prabhuji. I really appreciate the clarification that you had presented on the four regulative principles. And it really clarifies and clears the thought process behind following this. And very many of us will always think that these are the four moral grounds of religion or ethics, but the way that we understand is that will help with the purpose, basically, to remember of Krishna and never forget Krishna. So I really appreciate you clarifying this today.
Hare Krishna, Janaki Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm also I also like the point where we mentioned that it's through our association we inspire and keep each one of us together in this, because some way or the other people will lose motivation or people lose enthusiasm, but somehow or the other, Prabhupada's mercy or Krishna's mercy, we are always there, and somehow or the other somebody picks us up from somewhere. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Wonderful point, Mataji, for sure.
Yeah.
It's in the material world, we always want to be kind of the smartest person in the room, the brightest person in the room. or whatever it is, the most accomplished, so on and so forth. But how wonderful in spiritual life that actually it's the complete opposite. If we're surrounded by devotees who are really living these teachings of Krishna consciousness, and they have so many beautiful qualities that we would like to develop, it's a great thing to feel kind of a little small around the devotees, because it means that we're actually in the right association, because we're surrounded by those who are aspiring very seriously, and we can appreciate so much, their example.
Yeah, and all we need to do is just repeat our Acharya's instruction, and that's the best part.
Yeah. There's a simplicity there, that so much has been given, and we come in contact with so many great ideas from Srila Prabhupada and from our acharyas, from our teachers, and there's this move from gyan to vigyan, from knowledge to realization. And a lot of the time how this happens is through service, and also through association with the devotees. That by being around the devotees, they actually show us how these wonderful ideas, no doubt, we're attracted to the beautiful philosophy, the teachings, but by the example of the devotees, we get to see how it's brought to life and how it can actually be enacted practically in this world. And nice little secret about that too is that by witnessing that, we're also developing affection for the devotees, and these relationships actually kind of keep us in the fire of Krishna consciousness. That the more we can love the devotees and remember the devotees, we start to get a little steady in Krishna consciousness also, because we can't really become too cynical about these beautiful examples of the devotees that we see.
Yeah. I just want to share one example of my own mother. So
Please.
she was never into bhakti or Krishna consciousness, but she's very devotional. Otherwise, this new ISKCON and movement of bhakti, she came and she got introduced through obviously me and my sister. So every time she refers or make any references in her discussions, she will talk as if she's like talking about a person, literally. She only say, Krishna, did you eat that? Or Krishna, I made this for you. So she'll always make those Krishna references in her conversations. And I just can see that, okay, she's really, gotten it, but she's actually not taken the process like that well. But she's actually treating Krishna as a person.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's wonderful, and it's definitely by, like you said, your association, your sister's association. She's starting to develop that enthusiasm and that taste for bhakti. And yeah, it's maybe a gradual thing, but it sounds like she's a very, very pious person by nature. And then also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered that anyone who has chanted the name of Krishna is a devotee. So there are different ways of understanding, but certainly by doing this, she's just developing more and more that connection and tasting the happiness.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for me.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing that story. Yeah, and the association is so important. And we can be very honest that it's been hard, past few years, pandemic times, everything. It's been a challenge sometimes to have that enlivening association. Of course, we have great examples like our Jaiprakash Prabhu, who's here now, just steadily going to Mangal Arti, not letting the situation be disruptive. But, for many of us, it's been challenging to keep up that inspiring association. But we're doing the best we can with, some of these virtual arrangements. And also now things seem to be, opening up a little bit more. So just any chance to come together with those devotees and just enliven each other is like our real life nourishment in spiritual life. We can feel the difference when we're away from that.
Hare Krishna, Dinabandhu Prabhu, Damrata Nam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. It was such a wonderful class. I loved so many things, like points that you made, especially I wanted to mention the point that you made about the difference between grace and mercy. It's so beautiful. And you said that it comes in a spiritual way, like if a spiritual master is or a person is sent to you. But I feel um, even even your whatever your materialistic needs also, they are taken care of. You don't need to. And just like you said, we think like our plans are all like we have it all like planned, everything, our entire life, our future. So I'm a strong believer in like not asking for anything, again, just like you said, and I could relate to it so well. And I was like feeling so like joyful, that I'm not the only one who thinks like that, because I believe, I strongly believe that I don't know what is best for me. So why open my mouth and ask for something, just leave it to Krishna and automatically. And I have had so many experiences like this, like I just leave it to him, like I don't want to open my mouth and ask because I don't know what the future holds and I don't know what is best for me and my kids or my family or anything. So let Krishna take care of it. And then it just gets automatically like taken care of. Like while I'm busy with serving Krishna, I don't have to worry, like because again, I don't know what is best for me. And the grace just comes automatically, and so far as you are like busy in your Krishna conscious and your thoughts of Krishna and remembering and serving him, I loved what you said about the endeavor. I know the endeavor and the mercy, but the grace and the mercy, I really love the difference. And really I can tell from my own experience how many times it has just come along. I just wanted to share that because it's I just strongly believe that it's not right to just like ask for something when you don't even know what is good for you. And then like when Krishna gives it to you and it's not, it's not good for you, you cannot turn around and say, then Krishna will say, well, you didn't leave it to me, you were the one who asked for it. So just wanted to share that point. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Beautiful class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that perspective very much. And to know that you're also aspiring in that way, because I can certainly say for myself, still I come up with ideas that I think are, very good and so on and so forth. But we try to carry at least that idea, that understanding that Krishna really knows best. Krishna is the knower. Krishna is the controller, not us. So that's why we may pray sincerely, about a particular thing. It feels uncomfortable to ask directly because Krishna knows. But as we all have our individual relationship, but we may pray for something and then have this kind of caveat of, if it be your will, if this is your will, Lord.
That's what my daughter does all the time. She'll add this line, if it's your wish, deep down she has the desire, but then she'll say, okay, if you wish. It's like kind of coming with difficulty because she's still a teenager, but she's still, she's trying her best.
No, that's beautiful. It's actually beautiful because we're recognizing where we're at, that maybe we still have some personal desires or something that we think would be very nice, but saying, but recognizing at the same time, Krishna really knows best. So Krishna, to me, to my limited perspective, this seems very good. This seems like it could be really wonderful, but if you so desire. If you so desire. Like Prabhupada gives that beautiful example. Even when he was coming on the Jaladuta to the Boston Harbor, he was not, we can say, he wanted to execute the order of his spiritual master, but he also recognized it's all in Krishna's hands. So he has this beautiful poem that he wrote, if you want me to dance, then make me dance. Like that. So it's not like I'm going to go do this. It's Krishna, if you desire, if you want me to do this, even down to that very sacred order of his spiritual master, just recognizing that it's all in Krishna's hands ultimately. But I'm here, I'm open. And if you want me to dance, then make me dance. So
Thank you, Babaji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dinabandhu Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance. All courage to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much,
Please
Prabhu,
accept my
for sharing your realization. I had a couple of observations and then a clarification I seek. Mercy, as we understand it, is causeless. Whether we do anything or we don't do anything, mercy comes. So there is no nothing that we can do or desire or not desire or anything. Mercy is causeless. It's basically for the undeserving. That's mercy. So that is causeless. That's the one point to keep in mind. And then there is this concept of grace. Even when we address somebody in a formal manner, I will say His Grace Dinabandhu Das. I was taught this by Madhupati Prabhu, especially in formal communications or writing. You don't say Dinabandhu Prabhu. When I call you, I'll call you Prabhu. But when we write or when we are introducing or something, because Das is a very high position. So it's His grace, that operative word is grace, His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, her grace. So what is that grace? Grace is the instrument through which that mercy comes. So His divine grace, and it's like a gift that we receive. So mercy is causeless, and that whatever is the, I don't know what word to use, but that mercy comes from the conduit, that grace is through which that mercy comes to us. And of course, to be recipients is humility, is what is required. Because in absence of humility, even the mercy and the topmost gifts will, like pearls before a swine. It'll just get wasted. The other thing is, I had the exact same feelings as Mataji, Sachi Mata. I've never asked Krishna for anything. Before Hare Krishna and even during Hare Krishna. For me, it was something like, I thought it was very hypocritical on my end, that in good times or anytime I don't think of him and only run to him when I'm in trouble or something is happening. But then my good wife Savita, she gave a realization, and thinking deeper on it, it was also, she's saying he's like a father to all of us. Krishna is our father, and the most perfect father that we have. And as Mataji was saying, he knows what is best for us. So if a child says, I want chocolate, and keeps asking, the father knows it'll spoil his teeth. The kid is really happy, but he knows he'll get cavities and spoil his teeth. Rather, the father gives him something which is of a better taste, more healthy for him, something, whatever it may be, that case. But albeit, just as when we ask our beloved for something, it's that relationship that we have. It's a personal relationship that we have. So as Krishna as a father, and in that mood when we ask him, and as you rightly mentioned, and Acharyas and other Vaishnavas also say, we put that, if it pleases you, because end of the day, we are his servants. We really shouldn't be asking him for anything. But at the same time, he's my father, and I have a relationship with him. So all I'm doing is I'm making a request. This is what it is. To Mataji's point, what is best for me. And if it so desires you, like that young teenager Mataji's daughter says, so be it. And whatever comes, whether it is something which I can palatable to me or not palatable, I look at it as his blessings, grace, mercy, whatever we call that. So that was nice. And the other Mataji, when she mentioned about devotees, and the same thing which you said is, anyone who has chanted, Nandulal Prabhu had said, a person who has chanted even once the name of Hare Krishna, or Krishna even once, he started his journey back to Godhead. Just once, if you have taken that name. It may happen in this lifetime, It may happen in some other lifetime, doesn't matter. But he has started his journey back, and we consider him a devotee. Now we have some kind of an understanding of devotee is tilak, kantimala, dhoti, kurta, mangalarti, this, that, doesn't eat meat, offers bhoga, and all the other things, processes that we have. These are the rules and regulations because we are like wild animals, and we have that mercy, we have that good fortune that we are being trained and disciplined. We are being disciplined. These are disciplined, but then also mercy is infinite, Krishna is infinite, and it's not restricted only to a particular sect or a type of devotion. So there are great instances. That's why Prabhupada says, I've not come here to convert you. You know, if you're a better Christian, I'm here to make you a better, if you're a Christian, I'm here to make you a better Christian. All I'm trying to tell you is love God, develop love for God, love. As to your point where you said it's love. So like Mataji's mother, she has reached a stage where she's actually treating Krishna like a person. That's the whole philosophy, the supreme personality. Intellectually, at least I know that he is a person and he's not abstract like energy or light or something like that. He's a person. When I see the deities, that's when I realize, yes, he's a person. But otherwise, you know, that realization of that depth is not there. And Mataji, I don't know, may not be even chanting something, but she has this wonderful realization, and it's a past life good credits. It's a good credits that she got 2 daughters who are engaged in this process, who have reawakened. So it's really wonderful, this whole thing. Thanks, Prabhu. I really appreciated how you took the central point, extrapolated on that, and brought it back, Krishna Smaranam. Thank you so much for that. I hope to see you soon sometime. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Thank you so much, Amritananda Prabhu. Dandavats to you. Yeah, really look forward to seeing you before too long. And I was very happy seeing this photo of you also when I first logged on. Wonderful. Very, very dapper, and just, you know, I've always appreciated you so much. I was so happy.
Actually, I'll tell you the background behind this thing, and my wife will yell at me after the class. It was Valentine's Day, and we were going out for dinner, and she said that she said I always dress up like a. Actually, when I'm home, I like to wear sweats, and she's like, "What is this? You always dress up like a laborer." So I said, "Let me surprise her," and I, you know, suited, booted up for Valentine's Day, and then my kid took this picture, so I made it my. Anyway,
it's wonderful.
That's just
I'm
not the body.
Great portrait. The great portrait. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. You. Yeah, and please, please thank Savita Mataji also for the realization. You know, it was partially her realization that you shared. It's really nice, really very special. Yeah, approaching like a father, like the ultimate perfect father.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So, does anyone else have any thoughts to share? Sameshwar Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful discussion and wonderful Sangha, which focal point is Krishna and how we can all cultivate Krishna consciousness in our day-to-day life. It's very, very wonderful. So thank you so much. Anybody else has anything to add? Otherwise, anybody else want to share anything, any realizations?
Prabhu, it is late, but I've always had this question, and more so when we have this external circumstances like the war, and we see all these horrible images on TV, correct? Children, women, and people are just being slaughtered. So I've always had this thing that during troubled times, what do different devotees do? You know, whether it is personal troubled times or whether it is, you know, like Ukraine, what is happening, and the devotees there, how they're suffering, and even people in general, how they're suffering. So how do people cope with this kind of ugliness? Always, because that thing somehow remains at the back of the mind. I'm trying to see what kind of realizations and how this can serve as instructions and how different devotees cope with situations like this. If there is time, we can do it, or maybe tomorrow or some.
Yeah, this is a
forum.
Very beautiful question, and a very important question, and very vital, relatable question. Simheshwar Prabhu, I don't know. I want to take your permission. I don't know if I have time.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Of course.
And I also, Amritananda Prabhu, I was writing to you, actually. I was typing to you in the chat here. I forgot to mention, thank you for also sharing that point about how grace and love of God is not confined to any particular sect or tradition, and that Prabhupada wants to offer that to anyone and everyone. And that if we see love of God develop, that, yeah, Prabhupada said that himself, that the test for what is a genuine religion is how one is developing their love of God. And if they're developing love of God within that particular faith, it's perfect. So, yeah, so this question, just a few things came to mind, and it'd be so nice to just hear everybody's thoughts about it. But yeah, in these discouraging, difficult, troubled, disturbing times, whether personal calamity or global calamity, national calamity, so on, how do we make sense of this, and how can we try to see Krishna's hand? It's like, it's very easy to see Krishna's hand when great things are happening to us. Oh, this worked out so beautifully. Thank you, Krishna. Or, oh, this beautiful situation, the dolphins are, swimming in the ocean, jumping in the air, remembering Krishna in that. But how do we look at a war-torn country? And how do we look at all of the greed and anger and envy in the world? And how do we remember Krishna in that? How can we find some spiritual connection there? So something that my spiritual master shared about this that I remember frequently is just that in situations where it seems practically impossible to see Krishna in it, two ways that we can do that. This is just like a practical point, and then we can talk to speak more to the emotional side. But practically speaking, we can see anything in this world as part of Krishna's Virat Rupa, his universal form, because in Krishna's universal form, there is so much chaotic, kind of violent aspects to that. All the soldiers entering into his mouths. It's quite a fierce, intense. Also, time is there, the crushing kind of force of time. So in that way, we can connect on some level to Krishna's universal form when we're seeing such chaos and such violence and difficulty in the world. Not that we're celebrating it, not that we're endorsing or wanting it at all. I mean, it's painful to the heart. But if we're just grasping to see how it can be connected to Krishna, that's one way that Krishna has his forces and energies in this material world that are unstoppable and always going on. Another way is to see things in the light of the three gunas, the modes of material nature, that practically anything in this material world can be categorized as, something that's in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, or some unique blend of the three or two. So if we see something that is chaotic or see something that is painful, we can also start to look in, on a subtle level and say, okay, this is coming from someone's acting in the mode of passion, or someone's acting in the mode of ignorance, so on and so forth. And in that way, we can also recognize that the gunas are coming from Krishna. So these three gunas have been placed here in this material world. They're governing so much. And if we're struggling to remember Krishna in a particular circumstance, we can also think back on the modes of material nature. So that's what my spiritual master shared about that. But then just to briefly address, may not do much for our emotions, in a circumstance like this. It's still painful. it's still difficult to witness suffering. So one level we can say that it's a quality of a Vaishnava to be paradukha dukhi, to feel the distress of someone else. So we shouldn't necessarily feel discouraged if we're feeling that kind of compassion. Actually, it's a very good thing in some sense. Our spiritual qualities are awakening. We're feeling the pain of others, even though we don't have a personal connection to them. Our lens kind of widens. We become more broad-minded in the sense that it's not just about my friends and family. If I see other people suffering, I'm feeling something. So in a way, that's good, that we're not becoming jaded and hard-hearted. But also that this is also reminding us of the nature of this world, the material world. And that Prabhupada said, I've been thinking of this a lot in recent times. Prabhupada said that this world is no place for a gentleman. So we see that most people who are, in power or in positions of influence or doing harm, that they are not what you'd call a gentleman. They're mostly operating out of ego or greed, anger, envy, regardless of one's political affiliations. Just we see that most people who are in high positions are operating, under a lot of these qualities. So it's showing us, also awakening us to the fact that this is not our permanent home, and that we're trying our best to be compassionate and caring in this life as a service to our teachers who have been so compassionate and caring toward us, and the devotees who have been so compassionate and caring toward us, that hopefully in that way, we are making a difference. We feel so helpless. We feel so helpless when these situations are going on. But hopefully on some level, even in our micro level, we're making a difference by having compassion and care for what people are enduring in this world, and praying that they can experience God's love, in whatever they're going through. So this is just a couple of thoughts, but I'd love to hear from others. Thank you for that great question, Prabhu. It's more of a discussion. I'd love to hear more from you too about this.
That point, what your Guru Maharaj made, all glories to his lotus feet. Yes, we can form. My issue, Prabhu, if I may call it that, is philosophically, it is understandable over here. It can also be justified, but practically, or that realization, what you were talking about earlier, that's not there. And when I think about it with my mind, it could run the risk, I could run the risk of becoming kind of hard-hearted, in the sense that, they're suffering, it's either their karma or, this is the material nature, and the philosophy is there to back it up. But end of the day is what you said, para dukha dukhi, that appeals more. And at the same time, it's like walking on a tightrope. You don't want to get sentimental or too emotional about something, because that's also a dark pit we could fall down on. So how it's like something like a tightrope, I think, whether in our personal or even in somebody else's calamity, and how that would bring me closer to Krishna. That's where something I've tried to grapple. And I don't know if you remember in mid 2000s, Hare Krishnas in Kazakhstan, the prime minister or the president, his brother was a real estate developer. And we had a beautiful property and a farm and a thriving devotee community. And this fellow one day just comes with a government order, and with bulldozers, he just levels all the homes, temples, everything, and just destroys. And there were all these devotees with little kids, and they were all crying. And at that time, there was a kind of rage sitting here in New Jersey. They had posted those videos, what can you do? And it felt quite important that there is nothing we can do. And I was thinking about now, maybe 20 odd years later or 15 years later, so many things are happening over there, not just with devotees. But I'm not feeling that kind of rage or that kind of impotence, that jaded what you spoke about, Prabhu. And what would a Vaishnav do? So yes, that point is very right. Is we see Krishna's hand, he controls Mother Maya, Mahamaya, and all that. But it's all up over here. It's not coming inside. So these are the things which I grapple with. Simeshwar Prabhu or any other devotee, your thoughts, please.
Thank you for the wonderful realization and question on how we should see and cope up with these situations in Krishna conscious way. That when I looked at it, actually, yes, it was distressing initially. It's always distressing that 2 million people are flooded, flood to the other countries, neighboring countries, and almost like 2,000 people are killed. And I was reading another news that even Ukraine was shocked because of they were like kind of the graveyard they are creating like a bulk by on top of another. Children are being attacked and the maternity hospital is being attacked. So this is very distressing. Very distressing. Yes, of course. But at the same time, it's a war, and it's always, these atrocities are there in the history, like World War I, World War II, and everybody is now talking about World War III, nuclear weapons. So distressing, so distressing. Yes, so it reminds us that, material world, ashashvatam dukhalayam. And this is the reflection, or this is the material world that we all can see. Every step there is a danger. I mean, are we free sitting here in this America? No, we are not free at all. Did Ukraine ever thought of, a week ago that, this is going to happen to them? And they all have to flood their country and go and such a distress conditions. Yes. So this reminds us that, this our life is very, it's not what is called, we cannot imagine that, we would be here in this world for this many years. There's nothing guaranteed. We don't know when is our time comes up. This is exactly the material world. Krishna says, ashashvatam dukhalayam. This is temporary and full of distress. Dukhalayam, full of pain. And on the other hand, initially when this war happens in Ukraine, and there are 54 temples in Ukraine, this 54 temples started to started to help the devotees, the people, those who are in distress, those people in suffering. They were started to serve prasadam and giving the shelter to the devotees, and they are inviting the temple. And all on a sudden, Mangalore, there are a lot of people. All on a sudden, temple is full, and they are helping so much in so many ways. And that opportunity, this is what it is. The paradukha dukhi, the devotees are so compassionate to the other living entities, those who are suffering. They immediately, put all their efforts and money to, rescue and help and give the food and prasadam. And see that even in the battlefield, in the mid of battlefield, even one devotee got shot, even then the disciple of Jayabadav Maharaj. But still on the to help others. So they are even, devotees are trying to help. So in this way, we also can, even we are not there physically, but mentally we are here. We can also help them. Whatever the way we can, like we can send medicines in our company, they put a box, put ibuprofen and band-aids and so many things. So we also can do that. We can send some money and for their helps. We can pray for them, and every day chanting, we can take a round for them, those who are suffering there. And those who are, still it is uncertain that what is going to happen to the people. I mean, we should chant for everybody's peace. That's why we went to the, on the street last weekend, chant for peace. We went out there and chant for peace for the world. So devotees should see that Krishna in everything and Krishna's hand in everything. Yes, we may feel it. Otherwise, yes, it's always truth is always bitter. Yes, we may not see that, we say how Krishna can, yes, that's what is automatically come to our mind. How Krishna can do this to, we don't know what is Krishna's plan. That's for sure. So, but remember that half of the population, wiped out when the Kurukshetra war happened, when Krishna was personally present there. Half of the people, most, millions, half of the population is gone. So every war is like that. There was so many wars. It's all part of the history, part of this. Yes. So Krishna is always has a plan that we don't know, but Krishna has a better plan. But we may not understand what is Krishna's plan. So all we need to take that, all we need to do that is always, what Krishna wills, what Krishna wants, that we should go with it. So what Krishna wants from the devotees, yes, rise up to the situation that, help them and chant for them and whatever the help we can do for them. And in this way, Krishna is also testing, isn't it? What devotees are going to do as we are claiming as devotees. What are we doing? What are we doing for, this? Yes, always what is, as, Krishna mentioned the scriptures, we should follow that. And we should always remember him. We should pray to him. And as we are the, his devotees. Yes, as he correctly mentioned that if you wish so, right? If you think so, if you wish so, that should be our prayer. Krishna is that what is happening. If you wish so, please protect the innocents, please protect the devotees, please protect and be happy and chant, peaceful, be there. And also this is the time for everyone to realize that what this world is and how everybody's life is. It's like a water on a tickling what is leaf. Water is just tilting, right, on a leaf, on a, it's like that. Everybody's life is like that in this world, one way or other. Yeah, I mean, that's that's my take, or just wanted to say.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Obeisances to you all. Dinabandhu, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. So wonderful class, Prabhu. Right now 8:30, but I have a question to you. You came from the Jewish background, I think that. So I did not know about I don't know about the Jewish culture and everything, but is there any similarity with the Krishna consciousness or something like that? Can you share your experience, please?
Hare Krishna, dear Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, we can talk more about it sometime. Also, there's one book that was compiled by Satyaraj Prabhu. It's called Om Shalom. It might be a little hard to find. I think it was printed back in the 90s. Anyway, I can lend it to you also, Prabhu, at the temple sometime. But it was compiled by Satyaraj Prabhu, and it's his conversation with one Jewish rabbi. And they're kind of exploring all of the, similarities and respectfully exploring the differences also. It's a very nice kind of interfaith dialogue. But just to briefly mention, in Judaism, what is there that very much in common with Krishna consciousness is that there's an emphasis on a sort of monotheistic conception of the Lord, that there's the supreme Lord. There may be empowered representatives, but there's the supreme, and that just as we understand that Krishna is presiding over all in the Jewish tradition, their central prayer is emphasizing the oneness of God, that God is one and God is God of all. So there's definitely that understanding in common. And other traditions also, the mood of worship is quite different. There is singing, but it's not in the same spirit as like a kirtan. It's it's more kind of solemn mood, a little bit more like we would say in our terms like Aishwarya, seeing the Lord in the mood of awe and reverence quite a lot. But yeah, there's singing, there's prayer. Growing up, I didn't grow up very observant in the Jewish tradition. My parents were not very strict with that. but we were encouraged to pray in some personal way, pray to God, and over time, that's where our journey took us, reading different books from different traditions, and eventually becoming inspired with Srila Prabhupada's books. But we can speak about this some other time. I appreciate the inquiry, though. It's there are a lot of similarities, and as Prabhupada said, if one is developing their love of God through a particular faith, it's very good. But we find the conception, the understanding of the Lord is a little bit emphasizing in Jewish tradition the awe and reverence side, and not going as deeply into the kind of intimate details of the Supreme. Although that's there in the mystical tradition, it's there, but it's not in the primary teachings.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anybody else? So wonderful discussion. This is the power of devotees. They come together. Focal point is Krishna. Okay. Anything else? Amrudananda Prabhu?
No, Prabhu. Thank you. I mean, we could go on and on, but it's
Could go
already
on.
8:30.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dinabandhu.
Thank you, dear
Thank you,
devotee.
all Prabhus.
Yes.
Thanks.
So I humbly
Hare
request,
Krishna.
join every day. Don't miss this wonderful, section of Krishna consciousness. And always we say that, whenever we say Krishna or, his holy name, devotees, discussing about him, it's all we are associating with the Krishna. He's there. He's absolute. So this is our wonderful opportunity to be with him. So together, and it's powerful. When the Sankirtan is, this also Sankirtan. It's powerful. And Lord said that, wherever there is a Sankirtan, I am personally present there. So wonderful way of associating with the Lord and his devotees. Very powerful. So thank you. Let's conclude then today's session. So let's pray together. Vancha kalpatarupasya Kripa sindhu bheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Gaudi Vaishnava ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Other announcement I just forgot to mention. So next Thursday is our Gauri Purnima festival. This is our one of the biggest festival of ISKCON. Gauri Purnima and Janmashtami and Nityananda Trayodasi and Adhashtami, these are all wonderful festivals. We need a lot of volunteers, a lot of services. Please, contact us. And also there is a Shiksha Vow. Shiksha Vow, everybody knows that. What is Shiksha Vow means? We are recommitting ourselves that I would chant the holy name, this prescribed, this many rounds every day. So there is a Shraddha 1, Gauranga Sadhak, Gauranga Sevak, Prabhupada Ashraya, and Guru Ashraya. Those who are aspiring for Gurus, they are Guru Ashraya, they are who are chanting 16 rounds. They are Prabhupada Ashraya, taking the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Those who are chanting 8 rounds, Gauranga Sadhakas and Gauranga Sevakas, 4 rounds, and Shraddha 1, 1 round. So this wonderful title, this is not just somebody's, just came up, okay, let's put some name. No, that. This is all spiritual, identities. That one who chants 1 round with, devotion and attention, is Shraddha 1. He's a very faithful. He had such a faith in the Supreme Lord. He's an adhikar. He's an adhikari. He's a spiritual adhikari. He has he has it, so that his spiritual potency he will attain that. So it's a Shraddha 1. It's a wonderful identification, of spiritual identification. Gauranga Sevak, that just chanting the name Gauranga itself is Gauranga is there. That's what is the power of. It's mentioned that one who chants Nityananda Gauranga, that's it. In this age of Kali, one who chants at least Gauranga Nityananda, that's it. The mercy of Gauranga Nityananda is always there. So one who takes that title and real spiritual identity of Gauranga Sevak, Gauranga Sadhak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so pleased. And you're taking, Gauranga Mahaprabhu is taking 100 steps towards you. That's what it is. And then Prabhupada Asraya. I mean, it's not that we are taking the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is, guaranteeing that, yes, you are, I'm your, spiritual father, grandfather. I'm taking you as my, in my shelter. So these are all wonderful things. So devotees, please, please take that commitment that I would be in the, this is called, always says that, especially in this age of Kali, in this movement is nothing but Gauranga Leela. The Gauranga Leela that's what is happening in this world. So devotees, those who are connecting, taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada and devotees, they are all becoming part of that Gaura Leela. Gaura Leela is there, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, next 10,000 years it will be there. So this is the mercy, and this is, the Lord's mercy that we are seeking for. So this is easily available. It's coming to, please take it, like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Nityananda Prabhu, go and tell to everyone. Jare dekho tare kaho, Krishna Upadesh. Go and give to everyone. So this is easily available by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy of his devotees, Srila Prabhupada and pure devotees. It's easily available. All we need to take is just take it. That's all we need to do. So please join, please commit, and understand the importance of this devotional services. So this is the way we secure our spiritual consciousness. Otherwise, material Maya is like an ocean, devour us every moment. Okay, so thank you so much, and by at least by next week, please send your prescribed number of rounds, and we will be taking a vow and committing on the day of Gaura Purnima at the temple, and it's quite nice. Yeah, they're all connecting. Thank you so much. And Sunday is Ekadashi. That's what it is. I can say that March. Amalaki Vartagi Ekadashi, 13th Sunday. So fasting from grains and beans. So remember, and on Monday morning, 8:54 to 11:07 a.m. is the fast breaking time. So everybody can also observe Ekadashi, and every devotee should do that. And every devotee on the day of Ekadashi never overtake anything, which is, against the Ekadashi fasting. So please do so and chant the holy name. Okay, so let's conclude then. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarupasya. Kripa sindhubhya evacha patinanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Dinabandhu Prabhu. It's a wonderful.
Thank you,
Dinabandhu Prabhu.
Thank you,
everybody.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.